Hello, Sapp Church family. We are so pleased that this Sunday we're going to be having an option for you to attend service in person with us here at the church. Our service is going to be just a Sunday morning service beginning at 11 a.m. and we're going to conduct that service in the fellowship hall here. So we wanted to bring you a quick video so that you could know what to expect as you arrive on Sunday morning, because things are going to look different in this time of social distancing, but the board has taken all the necessary preparations and precautions to make sure that we can offer you an in-person service that is safe if you feel comfortable coming and worshiping in person with us this Sunday. So I'm just going to kind of walk you through what to expect on Sunday morning. As I mentioned, our service is going to begin at 11, and so we will open the doors and begin to seat people in the building at 10:30. So we'd ask if you arrive before 10:30 that you simply stay in your car until that 10:30 time. Whenever it does come time and you arrive and you are ready to be seated, we'd ask that you exit your vehicle and come here onto the porch under the covered drive at the single door entry into the fellowship hall. There will be an usher here to greet you. They'll be in mask and all the appropriate necessary things to make sure that everybody's safe. Here on the porch, we will have a table with hand sanitizer and face mask available. If you don't have one and you'd like to wear one, we'll have those available for you. You can bring your own if you'd like to. And we're not requiring that you wear face mask to attend service, but we want to make that option available to you. And certainly our ushers will be wearing face masks, and many people will. So if you feel comfortable and that's something that you want to do, then we want to make that available to you. So let's enter in through this door. This is the only entry we'll be using on Sunday morning. So let's enter in through this door, let you have a look at the fellowship hall and how everything is set up. I do want to mention as we come in that the usher will open the door for you so that we don't have multiple people touching the same surface. So we're going to keep all that sanitary. So let's take a look at how the fellowship hall is set up. As you can see, we've got all of the seating set up with the appropriate 6 foot for physical distancing that is recommended. Now, one thing that you may be thinking already is we've got all the chairs set up in groups of 2. What if my family is larger than 2? Or what if I'm coming by myself to service? One of the things that myself and the board really like about this setup is that we can make adjustments with what is out here already set up, and we will still keep 6 foot of social distancing. We have a wonderful gift in this new flooring that we put down in the fellowship hall a little bit over a year ago, because all of these squares are 2 feet. So as long as there's 3 squares between you and the person next to you, you know that you're maintaining that 6 feet of social distance. So just let me give you an example if I could. As you come in through the door, let me say first that, as I mentioned, the usher will open the door for you. There will be multiple ushers on the inside of the door, and we will seat people front to back in the order that they enter into the building. The reason that we do that is so that we don't have cross traffic. So we don't want to seat people in the back and then have to walk people by them to a seat in the front. So the order that you come in, the ushers will begin to seat up there in the very front, and they will work their way back as people come in. And that will prevent the cross traffic. So if you do have, let's say that you're a family of 3 or a family of 4, you can absolutely sit together if you're a part of the same household. So let me just give you by way of example, let's say there was a family of 3. The usher will simply be able to take a chair from the column next to you and move it over, and now you're sitting in a group of 3, and there's still 6 feet of distance between you and the single chair that is left. So this format will allow for adjustments. It won't look just like this whenever service is over, but this setup allows us to make the adjustments and ensure that social distancing stays in place. Now, let me make mention too, before we get into service and how that's going to look, that the bathrooms will be open and available, but we would encourage you to use the restrooms only if you need to. In the side aisles, there is a little bit more than 6 feet of distance, so you can exit out and come down the side, and you'll be 6 feet away from the people that are seated on the outside. I will say that this seating setup is not perfect, and if you're seated in the center, you'll need to really think about who's around you and how you might need to exit. If you're seated on one of the outside columns, it'll be very easy just for you to go to the wall and come back to the bathrooms in the back. But if you're seated in the center, you're going to need to be mindful of how you'll exit. You may have to do a little bit of a maze to be able to get out with the appropriate social distancing, but we're just going to have to trust that you can do that. We are following the recommendations that we keep our service to an hour, so the bathrooms are available, but we would think that that wouldn't be a major concern for most people, that they wouldn't necessarily need to use the restroom during service time. I also wanted to make mention of the fact that between all of our services, every surface in the fellowship hall will be sanitized. So we've got industrial grade sanitizer that we can spray all of these chairs and all of these surfaces down with, and we will be doing that before we come in for another service. With that being said, and you're probably already thinking of it, for the next several weeks as we move through this process, you probably won't be seated in the same seat. So sometimes the fellowship hall can get chilly. If you want to bring a blanket or a jacket or something like that with you, we encourage you to do so that you can stay comfortable. However, you won't want to leave that. Number one, we're going to spray everything with sanitizer. And number two, you won't be in the same seat likely next week whenever you come back to church again. So let's go to the front now, and we'll talk about service, what service is going to look like, and how that is going to go. So just let me remind you that as you come in, the ushers will seat you front to back, and that's how we're going to fill in, and that will avoid any of that cross commuting, I'll call it. How about that? Now let me say that I know that there are going to be some challenges in this for all of us, but one of the person that's going to have the biggest challenges is me, because I don't have a lot of room to get out and preach and run and spit and holler and stay 6 feet away from everybody, but I'm going to do my best to stay behind this lectern right here. So let's talk about service and kind of how service is going to look. It's going to look very similar to what we're used to, but there is going to be a few modifications that we are going to need to make to ensure that the social distancing and everything stays in place. We'll open with a welcome like we normally do. Then we're going to sing a couple of congregational songs. We're not going to be assembling or calling a choir during this time. Brother Cliff has done a wonderful job of arranging the musicians and everyone that's going to be participating up here at the front with appropriate distancing. So we're not going to be calling a choir. We'll just do congregational singing. And that is going to be what we have for the music. Let me also mention that for the offering, that is going to look different. We won't be taking an offering during the service, but we are going to have, and we'll show you whenever we show you how you're going to exit the building, where you'll be able to drop your offering. We're going to have that available to you, but that's another recommendation for everyone's safety, that we don't pass an offering plate or a bag or have ushers going up and down the aisle collecting an offering. Doing that offering drop box helps to minimize some of that contact that can occur in a typical church service. So we won't have a designated time for offering during service. We are going to take up prayer requests during a service like normal. We'll do that after we get done singing. And I also want to make mention of the fact, to those of you that won't be joining us, if you haven't signed up for our text updates, we had used that for prayer requests at the beginning of doing these services online. And Sometime on Saturday afternoon, you can look for a text if you're subscribed to the text updates about if you're not going to be here in church with us, but you would like to submit a prayer request that could be prayed about during the service. We're going to give you the opportunity to do that, and we'll have that list prepared by Sunday morning. If you're not subscribed to those text updates, you need to text SAPP, S-A-P-P, to 94000, 94000, and that will get you subscribed. We've got 24 people subscribed to that already, so I know a lot of you are. But if you'd like to subscribe to that and be able to correspond that way, then please do that. So as we then go to dismissal, as we conclude, we're going to preach. We will have a concluding prayer. Then we're also going to dismiss in reverse order of how, I shouldn't say reverse order, because the people that were sat first are going to be seated first, but we're going to dismiss from the front to the back, just like we sat from the front to the back. Another recommendation regarding entering and exiting, and this is why we're only using one door for entrance, is because we're only supposed to use one door as an entrance and one door as an exit. So we will dismiss by row, and the ushers will help us to do that. We're not going to necessarily call rows. I won't be calling rows, but the ushers will help us to dismiss by row, and we're going to dismiss you out the double doors right here. Because everyone is going to be leaving at once, we'll probably just open up this door, prop it open, so again, there's no touching of the doors by everybody. And this table right here is where we'll have the offering box for you, so you can drop in your offering as you leave, and the ushers will dismiss us by row. So that takes us through, to the best of our knowledge, what Sunday morning is going to look like this coming Sunday. We'll make adjustments as needed. No one has ever done this before, and so we are just doing the best that we can, and I want to say thank you so much to the board, all their hard work and dedication through this time. It is certainly a task to think through all of this, and so we are pleased that we're going to be able to offer this in-person option to you this coming Sunday. Let me reiterate just a few things that I have already mentioned. The first thing that I want to say to you is that just because we're having church in person, I do not want you to feel any obligation or pressure to come if you are not ready. I've said that many, many times, and I'm saying it to you again in this video, that we want you to come whenever you feel comfortable. We've put every measure that we can in place to make this a safe environment, to limit any possible transmission that could potentially occur. We're following every guideline because we want this environment to be safe. So I hope that you feel that we have done that. But I do know that different people have different medical issues, different concerns. Some have a compromised immune systems, and there is a lot to consider. And so I want to say to you personally, as your pastor, that I'm not going to think negatively of you. I'm not going to think negatively of your faith or your walk with God if you don't come Sunday. I won't think negatively of you as your pastor if it's a month before you come, if it's 2 months before you come. None of us knows what tomorrow is going to hold. We certainly need to be in prayer for our state because we've had 2 days of very, very high cases across the state. Thankfully, we haven't seen that locally. But we've had 2 days of very high cases across the state. So none of us knows what 3 weeks from now is going to look like. And I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart that we're pleased that we're able to offer this in-person service. And we want to continue to do that. But I want you to come whenever you're ready, when you feel comfortable. That's when I want you to come. So I don't want you to feel any pressure that you need to come or that you have to come. And as I say that, I want to remind you that we're going to offer this service. We're going to stream it live on Facebook. We will upload it to YouTube after the fact, and we're also going to record the service in the event that the internet quality isn't so great or that the live stream drops out. We'll have that uploaded just a few hours after the service concludes for you. So it's going to be available online for you to watch. And it'll be available in high definition a few hours after service. So you can join with us live, or you can join with us after the fact if you'd like to. I wanted to make mention of that to you. Because we are presenting the option to you to assemble, I do want to remind you that we are asking you to stay home if you have a fever, if you have a cough, if you feel sick in any way. We ask you, please stay home. That's the right thing to do for everyone concerned. Let me make mention of this to you, that I personally know pastors and people who are involved in churches where they started back and they had to cancel services for a few weeks because there were people that came to service that then later, a day or two after service, tested positive for the virus. Now all of those people have been exposed, and everyone that was in that church service is supposed to go into then a 14-day quarantine period. So we ask you to use wisdom. If you're feeling sick, if you have a fever, we ask you to stay home. That's the only people that I'm asking not to come. I'm asking you, if you don't feel well, to get the comfiest spot in your house and watch with us online and praise with us online. Everyone else, if you feel comfortable coming, we're going to be happy to see you. If you feel more comfortable staying at home streaming, we're going to be happy to see that you're watching on Facebook. And so I just want to say to you that we are so pleased to bring this in-person service to you. And I look forward to seeing those of you that I'm going to see on Sunday. Some of you that it'll be weeks or more time potentially before you come. I look forward to seeing you then. We're all a church family. We said from the very beginning that the church is not a building. And we need to continue to remember that during this time. The church is the people. The church is the called people of God. And I'm so thankful that He has called you to this church. And I'm honored to be your shepherd and your pastor. And we ask that you would pray for us as we do our best to shepherd and pastor you through this time. Thank you so much, and God bless.